right, if you are new to Studio One, let's take a look at using the native plugins that come with it. So here I have a song here with a vocal track that I have not put effects on yet. So I'm going to use the view expander here to open up the view here. You can also open up the view by grabbing the bottom of a track and making it larger like that. The other thing that you can do too is you can actually highlight a certain section and double click on it and it'll open it up in the editor. But we're actually just going to use this up here because I want the mixer open so that we can bring in effects. In order to see where the effects go, you actually place them here on the inserts for many of them, and you will actually put some on the sends, and I'll get into that in another video. But if you just want to learn how to use the effects and you want to hear the different things that they do, here's a really good way to do it. Now you can see I have stereo tracks here. So if I hit this button here, then everything plays back in mono on this track, including the effects that go in the inserts. But I'm going to stick with it in stereo so that we can hear some of the cool sounds that the PreSonus effects actually have. All right. First thing we want to do is we want to go over here to the effects tab, and we're going to click on that. And here are all of the PreSonus effects, and they are under the PreSonus title, oddly enough. And we have lots of stuff here. If you've got Studio One Professional, you've got a pretty good selection of native plugins to where you really don't need to buy third-party stuff unless you're actually looking for a particular effect or you're used to using the GUI on some of these third-party plugins. But you should have everything you need for a professional mix that come with Studio One. All right, so we're going to deal with this vocal here. Here is how the song starts here in this section.
As I sit here waiting for the punishment that I face, too many times I feel nothing, and it puts me in my place.
Then you got backups.
Oh, yeah.
And the whole song starts, but the voice sounds a little dry right now. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to solo it, just like that.
As I sit here waiting.
So we want to put something behind it a little bit. Now, every song is going to require something a little bit different. So you can create a template, which is in another video, and you can always put the same stuff on the same types of tracks, but I really don't advise that. Always start with things dry, especially like the vocal. So for this particular song, I'm just going to go here through the list, and I'm going to look for a very simple plugin called a mix verb. Let me see here. There we go. There's the mix tool. Here's the mix verb. Now, you can choose the different presets from here by clicking on the little caret here. You can choose the presets here, or you can just drag in the plugin itself, and it'll give you a default. Boom, just like that. If you close the effect and you're like, oh my gosh, how do I get back to it? You can just go ahead and go into this panel. Or you can actually do it this way, and you can use the tall view or the large view. There we go, and it's right there again. But this view gives you a display of all of the effects on all of your tracks. Sometimes people like it like this, where you just open up a little panel so you don't have to really botch up your view here. So we're going to use this view right now. So all you have to do is double click in the center of the plugin and it'll open it again. If you want to make sure you don't close it, you can hit a little pin here just like this. So anyway, so there's a default setting for this reverb. Let's actually hear what it sounds like.
As I sit here waiting.
Not bad.
For the punishment that I face.
You can go through the presets of that plugin. Let's go ahead and, whoops, try it again. And let's see large hall. Let's see what that sounds like.
As I sit here waiting.
Okay, that's way too much. But if you like the sound of the reverb, you can adjust it using the mix knob.
As I sit here waiting for the punishment that I face.
Decent. Decent. If you want a little bit brighter, you can use the dampening option here. We can take off some of the dampening.
As I sit here waiting for the punishment that I face.
And we can even put a little bit of pre-delay. Now, what the pre-delay does is it makes it so that the reverb doesn't come out at the same time as the voice. So to exaggerate, I'm going to turn this way up, and you'll hear the voice first and then the reverb created by the voice afterwards.
As I sit here waiting for the punishment.
Now, this actually might sound good for the song, so let's go ahead and see what it sounds like.
As I sit here waiting
And adjust.
for the punishment that I face. Too many times I feel nothing, and it puts me in my place. Oh, yeah.
Okay, we're going to stick with that for right now because I like it. So now the voice sounds a little bit dark. I'd like to hear a little bit more sibilance or the S's and the essence of the voice a little bit.
As I sit here waiting.
So one of the other plugins that we can use is we can go ahead and bring in a Pro EQ. And I'm going to put it right there. But the thing to remember is that some plugins sound better before or after. So what we want to do in this case, I want to take the Pro EQ and I want to move it above the mix verb so that we actually get the EQ on the vocal before the mix verb hits it. We don't want to EQ the reverb. So the adjustments that we make to the Pro EQ now will affect the voice only, and it won't change the EQing of the reverb. And that I go into another video, and I go into detail in another video for that and why that happens. But let's go ahead and listen to the voice with the EQ.
As I sit here waiting.
And I can make it really bright.
As I sit here waiting for the punishment that I
Or
face.
dark.
Too many times I feel nothing.
There we go. I'm going to leave that just like that. You can also do the preset deal. You can also choose presets. Here's a female pop vocal. And you can see it did a whole bunch of stuff to it.
As I sit here waiting.
Ooh, I like that.
For the punishment that I face.
Great. I like that. All right. So then you have other adjustments in the EQ. I can make it sound kind of boxy.
As I sit here waiting.
Like it's on a telephone.
For the punishment that I face. Too many times.
Or I can just go through some of the EQ presets and just for grins and see what happens here. I think I have here's a telephone preset. Oops. Where'd it go? There it is. Right there.
As I sit here waiting for the punishment that I face.
There you go. Just like that. So if you're just starting to get involved with the plugins, if this is your first DAW, don't start buying a whole bunch of third-party stuff that you're not used to. Learn what's in Studio One first. And then you can go ahead and go out and get other plugins once you learn what the different plugins do. In my opinion, you should, you see here, I don't really have many third-party things in here. I got a couple of things here, but I don't really have a lot. And I use the Personas plugins more than anything for all of the songs that I produce, all of my own music, and as well as some of my clients. I use all Personas plugins, especially when I teach, so that when people actually have the same version of Studio One that I have, they can do an example-to-example comparison and use the examples I put in the videos with what you have now. If you've got Studio One Prime or Studio One Artist, you will have some of the options and some of them you won't. So it's important to know what version you have before you really start going out and watching videos. I'm using Studio One Professional, but I have plenty of people on Studio One Prime that watch my videos and get a lot out of it for editing and things like that, as well as some of the more basic plugins that come with Prime. So anyway, I hope that this helped you guys. Using plugins can be a very daunting task, especially for a beginner. But if you do things slowly and you start to actually put things in places that maybe you wouldn't normally, just to see what the plugins do, I am going to have some videos on each of the different plugins in Studio One coming up soon. So it should be a cool series. Hopefully you guys will catch it. All right, let's see. I hope that all of this helped, and I will see you all in the next video.